We have waited for more than 340 years for our constitutional and God-given rights. The nations of Asia and Africa are moving with jet-like speed toward gaining political independence. But we still creep at horse and buggy pace toward gaining a cup of coffee at a lunch counter. I am troubled when you suddenly find your tongue twisted and your speech stammering as you seek to explain to your 6-year-old daughter why she can't go to the public amusement park that's been advertised on TV and see tears welling up her eyes.
Hey boy, you got a visitor.
Oh, Rosa! Rosa! I'm so glad to see you, Rosa.
Oh, I'm glad to see you too, Dr. King.
Rosa.
I'm just glad you're all right.
I'm doing fine.
You lost some weight. You're not fasting, are you?
No, I'm not fasting. I'm not getting that sleep. I'm not getting that sleep. I'm writing a letter. I'm writing a letter to a local pastor, and I'm worried about the local pastors not being in my corner. You heard what they said about me.
Yes, I heard. But you know, you have a way of bringing people around to your way of thinking. I remember the first time I met you in Montgomery. You had come to our church to speak about the Brown versus Board of Education ruling. Remember? Well, I remember how mesmerizing you were.
Yeah, I remember. I remember about speaking at the church, not the mesmerizing part. You were secretary of the NAACP chapter then, and you wrote me afterward inviting me to join the executive committee.
That's right. Do you know I met you and Septima Clark in that same year? And that was the year that poor little Emmett Till was killed. What a year. But you were talking about nonviolence, all that nonviolent stuff. And you gave an amazing speech at the Dexter Avenue Church that first day after the bus boycott started. Now me, growing up, I always thought you were weak. If you didn't let people know, you would give them something awful if they messed with you.
How true, but that's how most of us grew up. I'm so glad that Dr. Mordecai Johnson introduced me to the teachings of Gandhi and what nonviolence can accomplish. I sometimes feel that the greatest Christian of the modern world was a man who never embraced Christianity. Gandhi. Gandhi was probably the first person in history to lift the love ethic of Jesus above mere interaction between individuals to a powerful social force. This Gandhian emphasis on love and nonviolence is exactly the method for social reform that I have been seeking. You don't regret that we took that path, do you?
Oh, no, Dr. King. I know everybody hasn't bought into the idea, but you convinced me that nonviolence was the way to go. But I don't think nonviolence works in every situation. I wonder what Mr. Gandhi would say about our situation now in our struggle.
I wonder what he would say about it.
I'm proud of the path you are taking. I am so honored to meet fellow practitioners of ahimsa.
Oh, Mr. Gandhi, the honor is all mine. I'm truly blessed to meet you.
Mr. Gandhi, it is a pleasure to meet you. It is a pleasure to meet you and follow your path of nonviolence that you've employed so long as India gained its freedom. Won't you sit down? I'm sorry I don't have anything more than this chair to offer you.
Oh, this chair is a luxury for me. You know, I'm used to sitting on the floor. But this chair is wonderful for my old bones. Thank you.
We were talking about whether nonviolence is cowardice or a sign of strength. I know you have very strong feelings about that, Mr. Gandhi.
You know, a man who behaves like a mouse when facing danger is rightly called a coward. He harbors violence and hatred in his heart. and would probably injure his enemy if he could without hurting himself. He's really a stranger to nonviolence. It takes courage to transform evil into good. The courage of nonviolence, the courage of dialogue, the courage to listen to a point of view that you may not want to hear, the courage to forego vengeance and be guided by reason. It takes supreme courage. Nonviolence is the highest form of humility. I dare say that, the students who sat in a lunch counter in Greensboro, or the freedom riders who rode the buses to register voters, they had a lot more courage than all the policemen wielding batons.
I agree. But there's also love. There's a reason I think that Jesus says, love your enemies. Love has with it redemptive power, and there is power that eventually transforms individuals.
True. Nonviolence practiced with love is the ultimate weapon. I love my British friends, but I resisted their rule. But in my heart, they're still my friends.
Mr. Gandhi, let me ask you a question. You spent a lot of time in jail. Did you ever get discouraged and thinking that maybe you should change course?
My dear Martin, may I call you Martin? When I despair, I always remind myself that all through history, the path of truth and love has always won. There have been murderers and tyrants, and for a time, they may have looked invincible, but in the long run, they always fall. Think of it, always.